Good morning, everyone. So it's time for another weekly progress vlog. My last one was really well received, so I want to get another one up for you guys soon. This one, once again, has a slightly misleading title. It was not filmed over a 1 week period. For the first week, I was sick, and I sort of foolishly thought that I'd be motivated enough to still get a lot of work done and to still film everything. And that just didn't end up happening. I did get quite a bit done, but it was mostly done downstairs in front of the TV, which isn't really the best environment for filming. So I'd kind of film one clip at the beginning of the day, and then the next clip would be from the next day. I was working on some cool stuff, so I didn't want to totally edit out that footage. So I've included that, and then I filmed for an additional 7-ish days. But there were a few days in there where I was editing or photographing projects, or too frustrated to get anything done. So yeah, this isn't really a weekly vlog, but it does give you a big peek into what I've been working on over the last couple of weeks, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So in this video, you will see me working on a couple projects that I'm filming. I finished a plaid blouse, I finished my cycling costume, I made some progress on an 18th century project, I made 1.5 skirts, and I worked on a whole bunch of hats, and there's probably some other stuff in there that I'm forgetting as well. And I really hope you enjoyed this video and enjoy seeing everything I've been up to. So the first thing I have in progress is a pork pie hat. And I started on this yesterday since I've been sick. I wanted a hand sewing project to work on downstairs, and hats work really well for that. So this piece is made out of interfacing that's backed with wire, and then this is also interfacing backed with wire, and then there's some stuffing on top of it to give it a domed shape. And then this is a piece of buckram. It doesn't have any wire in it. And this is actually the brim that will go over top of this piece, so I can tuck embellishments and feathers and stuff in this little pocket. The reason they're called pork pie hats is because it's a brimless hat, so it looks kind of like a pie. And because it's a brimless hat, that makes it really easy to make. It's effectively just a really large pillbox hat, so drafting it was really easy. All the pieces are now covered with velvet and lined with a cotton polka dot fabric. And this piece has a little bit of plaid piping on the top edge, so now it's just a matter of sewing it all together and then trimming the hat. That hat will go with a blouse, and I have the pieces for that blouse right here. This is the bodice. It has all the buttons sewn on and the lace work done and the shoulder seam done. And then these are the sleeves, and these have been gathered down with 2 rows of running stitches. The cuffs are bound. There are button closures on the cuffs as well as lace finishings. So these pieces are independently finished, and now they just have to be sewn together. So hopefully I can get this finished today and finish the hat and work a little bit on a pair of bloomers for a cycling costume. So I got the shoulder seam done up and the side seams done up, and I'm really happy with how it looks. Now all I have to do is hem it and gather the front panels, and then I have to sew some lace tape over the raw edge of the shoulder seam, and then it will be done. So I'm going to set this aside and bring it downstairs with me in a little bit, but in the meantime I'm going to be cutting out the cycling short pattern, and hopefully that will go well, and then I can work on it some more tomorrow if I'm feeling better. Another goal for today is to finish the embroidery on these panels, and these panels will eventually be the base for a crown, and they're going to be covered with beads and sequins and hopefully look really pretty once I'm done with them. My embroidery isn't terribly even or well done here, but that's okay since it's just going to be a base for the embellishments. Okay, so here's a little update. I got the bloomers cut out and they're over there. And then I went ahead and did some research and cut out a quick base for a Civil War era headpiece. This is actually going to be paired with the evening gown I'm working on. It's basically just a headband base out of interfacing, which I'm going to put wire in, and then combs will be sewn to either edge so it can fit in with the hairstyle. And it will be covered with this pink ribbon, and then I'll pile some fake flowers and pearls and beads and leaves and ribbons and all sorts of things on top until it has the frilliness that appropriately matches the dress. So this is another thing I can work on downstairs, and I'm starting to feel really crappy, so I think I'm going to go downstairs and have some ice cream and then do some hand sewing in front of the TV. Good morning, everyone. So unfortunately I'm still not feeling well today, so I don't think it's going to be super productive, or at least it won't be a very productive day upstairs. I'll probably still get a fair amount of hand sewing done while watching TV. I'd hoped to work on my bloomers today, but I'm really not feeling up to it, so I think I'm going to do some Civil War era progress instead. I'm going to finish sewing on the sequins to the bodice, and then I'm going to make a bow which will sit right here and cover up the gap in lace. And then if I have time left over, I can start sewing the scalloped panels onto the skirt because that needs to be done as well. Last night I did get my pork pie hat finished, which was nice. I think I'm going to add a bow to the back of it because it didn't line up perfectly, and I'm also going to trim it with feathers, but for the most part it's finished. Hopefully I can also get an Edwardian hat finished today, or at least get the construction of it finished so I can trim it later today or tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. So I haven't updated you in a few days. I'm still sick. I'm not getting better, which is kind of frustrating, but I have been able to get a bit of work done over the last couple days. So I finished this pair of bloomers, and they took 2 days to make and probably 6 or 7 hours, so I could have done it in one day, but I was filming the process, so I wanted to film it over 2 days so I could have good lighting. Aside from them being really unflattering, I'm really happy with them. I think the shape is really nice and the volume is nice and it fits really well, and considering that I didn't make a mock-up, that is a complete blessing. I also finished the Civil War era blouse, and I'm really pleased with how this turned out as well. This is using one of the fabrics I sent for review by Organic Cotton Plus, and it's a double cotton gauze. And this material was a huge pain to work with. It behaves a lot like chiffon, where it's really prone to warping and shifting as you sew it, but the material feels absolutely beautiful, and I love the weight of it because it's opaque, but when you gather it, it just gathers down to nothing, so there's no bulk in the seams. So it was nice in that way. It just wasn't the most fun to work with, but I'm really happy with the finished garment, and I really think this texture of the material is gorgeous. And now I have to make a skirt to go with it, and that's what I'm hoping to do today. I don't know if I'll be able to finish the skirt today, but I'd like to figure out the measurements and get it cut out and get the pieces assembled. And then maybe I can do the finishing work and hemming another day. So yesterday my plan was to make a skirt, and that didn't really end up happening. I just wasn't feeling well enough to problem solve, and you really need to be in a problem solving mindset when you're starting on a new costume. Especially one like this where I didn't have as much material as I needed. So I think I figured out a solution for this. I actually have some more micro velvet. I just didn't want to use it because then I wouldn't have enough to make another dress out of it. But I think I'm going to use whatever I have left over for a menswear inspired project, in which case I only need about 3 yards left over. So I can steal 2 yards of micro velvet from the other bolt that I have. So hopefully now that that's figured out, I can move forward with this today and see it come together really pretty quickly. So yesterday I didn't get very much done. I did use some beading on my Grecian crown, which I still haven't shown you. And I also took a little trip to Joann's because they were having Memorial Day sales. So I thought I would insert a little mini haul into this video just to pad it out a little bit since I've been so bad at filming this week. So let me show you what I got. I'm kind of excited about the things I got, even though I didn't really need any of them. Here is the pile of fabrics. I got 6 yards of this beautiful blue chiffon with an iridescent scroll pattern on it. I bought some of this in pink and in ivory, and it was in my last haul video, but it was 50% off again, and I had 20% off my entire purchase, so I decided to get some more, and I think I'm going to use this for a very angelic inspired design. It might end up being one of my 48-hour projects in the future. To go with that, I got some of this blue netting. I don't know how this is going to be incorporated into the project, but they look really nice together. Or at least I think they do. And then I got a yard of that material in gold. This obviously wouldn't be used for the same project, but I really like using it for headpieces. And I thought it would be a good thing to have around. And then I got some muslin just for mock-ups and draping. They had their red tag fabrics 50% off, and then on top of that there's the 20% off coupon. So I found this eyelet cotton fabric that has really pretty metallic stripes woven throughout it, and I thought this would be really cool for chemise to go underneath some sort of menswear project. And I actually think I might pair this with whatever leftover micro velvet I have. And the final fabric is a metallic linen. And I was looking for a fabric like this for my Grecian project, and I couldn't find one, so I ended up buying normal linen instead. But when I saw this, I knew it would be perfect and work way better for this project, so I decided to get it as well. I also got some yellow ribbon for a corset I finished recently, and some pearls for a Renaissance-inspired project that I've had in progress for a while, and some of these Blue Moon strand beads. I really like the size of these. I've used them on a headpiece before, and I think that's probably what they will end up getting used for again. And that's it for my Joann's haul. I'm really pretty excited about everything I got, even though I didn't really need any of it. I think they will definitely contribute to making some really pretty projects in the future. So I have the skirt pattern figured out over here. I have the petticoat that will go underneath the skirt over here, and I have all the panels cut out over here. And now it's a matter of sewing them together with the wrong sides facing each other, then trimming the seams and sewing them with the right sides facing each other, so all of the seams are French and won't be prone to fraying. Look at that skirt! It's all sewn together now with French seams, and I also cut a slit in the back and then finished the edges of that with bias tape. And then stupidly, I used my iron on too high of a heat over top of a pressing cloth, and it left that mark, which I'm quite upset about. But it's gonna be fine. No one's gonna notice, but I'll know it's there. And now I'm just going to sew on a few snaps to keep the slit closed when the skirt's worn, and then hopefully I will have time to gather the top edge of the skirt down to 27 inches. And then tomorrow I can get the waistband done and get it hemmed, or gathering is done. I love how velvet looks when it gets gathered. It's just so luxurious. Even though this is really cheap velvet and it's actually turning my nails blue, it's still a lot of fun to work with. So I'm going to put this on the dress form and see how it looks. And I think that's going to be it for this afternoon. I'm going to go downstairs and work a little bit on my beading project and repaint my nails and do some video editing and some blog writing. So I just tried the skirt on over top of my dress form and it did not look very good. I took the petticoat off the farthingale so it's got a slimmer silhouette and it looks a lot better. Originally it was very tight across the bottom of the skirt, so it had sort of a cupcake shape, which really isn't what I was going for. It's still not perfect and I don't really know why. I made a plaid dress out of 4 panels of 40-inch wide fabric, which is what this is made out of, and it looked absolutely fine over this petticoat combination. So I don't know why the velvet looks so bad, but it does, which is really disappointing. I think I'm going to move forward. I'm going to attach the waistband later tonight, and then tomorrow I'll try it on and figure out what I'm going to do before hemming it. I wrote myself a list for today, so that's some serious business. I want to finish altering the peridot jacket pattern, and I want to hem my velvet skirt and make the waistband for it and attach the waistband and get it finished. I also want to sketch out the waist design for a Grecian project and film the close-ups for a costume spotlight video. But what I want to show you now is the crown that I've had in progress for a little while. So this is for the Grecian project. I embroidered the design onto satin-faced chiffon, and then I fused the chiffon onto interfacing, and now I'm adding sequins and beads, making it really sparkly. I've got one side completely finished, and then this side is almost done. I just have to add the edge detailing. And these are all the beads I'm using for it. They've gotten mussed up since I've been coughing, and every time I cough they like fly everywhere and get really disorganized, which is so gross and annoying, but that's been my life this week. I showed these in my haul video, but I have 3 different colors of seed beads, which I barely ended up using because they just looked kind of weird and bulky on the fabric, and then 4 different types of sequins, which are featured quite prominently in this design. So the waistband's done. It has hooks and bars attached to both ends, and it's fully lined with cotton. Unfortunately, I made it the wrong way and didn't notice until after I'd already finished everything. But I'm going to use it anyway because I have a feeling this skirt is going to end up being cut up for scraps in the near future. So I'm not too committed to making it perfect. I do really like the blouse I made though, so hopefully I can make another skirt to go with it in the future that's a little bit nicer than this one. So now I need to attach bias tape to the top edge of the skirt so it's nice and finished, and then I can hand stitch it onto the waistband, and then all I'll need to do is hem it, and it will be done! Hello everyone! So I didn't end up filming very much yesterday because I tried this skirt on and I got really discouraged. Since it's made out of velvet and velvet really absorbs light, you can't really see the difference between where the waistband ends and the gathered portion begin, and your eye is immediately drawn to the larger portion of the skirt, which is where the gathers begin. So it ends up making the waistline look a lot thicker than it is, which really messes up the silhouette. So in its current state, the skirt is not going to work. It's just not flattering, it doesn't look good, and I'm really unhappy with it. So I went from feeling like I was 2 hours away from completing this project. All I had to do was hem the skirt and it would be done and ready to be photographed this weekend. to realizing that I have no way of moving forward with this project. And then in addition to that, when I tried the skirt on, I ended up grabbing the blouse too harshly and I ripped out a bunch of gathering stitches on it, so I have to redo those. After this week where I've been sick and I haven't been as productive as I wanted to be and I wasn't feeling that great in general, trying this project on that I was excited to get finished and having it be such a disaster was just so disappointing. And yeah, I'm just not in the best mood. Today I'm going to try and do all the things on my list that I didn't do yesterday, like finishing the 18th century pattern and filming the close-ups for my cycling costume spotlight video. And yeah, I don't know what the state of this is going to be. I do have a little bit of plaid fabric left over. This is the material I used on the shirt, and I could potentially make a waistband out of that looks like it's part of the shirt and goes over top of the waistband I've already made. So I can try that and see how it looks. So it's been about an hour and a half now and I finished resizing the pattern, and then I took video footage of all the individual pieces that go into my cycling costume. I had to film close-ups of the jacket, the hat, the corset, and chemise that go underneath it, the socks, the shoes, the bloomers, the shirtwaist, the bow tie, and I think that's it. So it took me a little while to do, but it's done now. And I'll even give you a sneaky peek. Look at how nice it looks. I'm really so happy with how this turned out and I can't wait to get photos of it. But I'm not going to be doing that right now. I'm going to take a few minutes and go ahead and finish up this 1890s hat. I have a feather for it, I have some flowers for it, I also have this really pretty brooch, which belonged to my great-grandmother, so I'd like to incorporate that in some way. And even though I don't know when the costume's going to be finished, I'm going to go ahead and complete this pork pie hat and stick a feather in it and the brooch on and see how it looks. So at least that's one component that will be completely done. And hopefully this goes well. I think the feather's a little bit too big for the hat, so I might have to cut it into 2 pieces or something. I don't know. I'm going to try and figure it out and I'll show you what it ends up looking like. I got the feather on there and a whole bunch of flowers. I'm happy with how it turned out, but I think those decorations should have gone on this side, but I'm really happy with how the hat itself looks. I'd played around a little bit with the flowers and feathers before today, and I just hadn't been able to get them to look good, so that's why I was sort of putting off this project, but came together really well and I'm really happy with it and I'm excited to wear it. And down here I have the pork pie hat, which is finished as well. I didn't use any glue on this. The feathers are just tucked into the little opening at the top since this is effectively a pocket. And then I put the brooch on there, but I don't love how the brooch looks, so I think I may end up taking that off, but we'll have to wait and see. And I made myself a list for this week, and hopefully I can get about 5 things crossed off this list today. I don't know which ones, but I just want to get at least 5 crossed off and completed. And I'm going to start by working on my 1860s headpiece. And this is to go with my Civil War era evening gown, and I actually started this earlier in the week, I just didn't really show it to you guys. So it's 2 strips of interfacing with wire in both pieces. Then it's been covered with lace trim and I've beaded all the gaps and added sequins and pearls and pink beads to it, so it's really sparkly and pretty. And now I'm going to go ahead and sew this lace onto the bottom edge of it, and once that's done then I can decorate the sides of it. And I've got some beads and some fake flowers and stuff to do that. So I think the end result will be really pretty, I just have to sew it together. Look at my beautiful headpiece and the really awkward way I have to hold it. So I went ahead and glued on the flowers and some glass and metal beads and some paper flowers, and it's finished. I think it looks really nice. I just can't show you how nice it looks without including a worn photo, so I'll insert one here if I have one by the time this video goes up. So I'm excited that this is done. I already crossed it off my list, and now I'm going to go ahead and move on to something else. I don't know if I'm going to cut out the 18th century jacket or if I'm going to work on the plaid waistband. I'm kind of debating between those two. I finished it again! I'm blogging about this project today, so I went ahead and regathered the part that tore out when I originally tried it on. And now it's finished, and I photographed it so I can write about it today. And I think I'm going to move straight forward into working a little bit on the waistband and see if I can come up with a fix for that. And okay, so I've gone ahead and created a waistband out of denim, and then I finished the top edge with satin ribbon, and then I sewed some lace over top of that because I accidentally made the waistband too wide, so the top part would have been visible, and I didn't want you to be able to see the ribbon. And it's sewn onto my skirt, and then I tacked the seam allowance to the underside of the gathers so it won't flip up and interfere with the waistband and make the waist look bulkier and the band harder to close. And now I'm going to go ahead and top stitch my plaid waistband over top of this, and once it's sewn on there I'm going to sew 2 buttons to the front, and I'm going to sew hooks to the back, and then hopefully it will fit and work, and then I can go ahead and move forward with hemming this tomorrow. So I finished the waistband, or at least I sewed the plaid over top. It doesn't have closures sewn in yet. And I tried it on without the corset, and it looks way better than it did when there was the velvet waistband. It's definitely an improvement, and I'm feeling kind of hopeful that this might work out. So I'm going to set this aside for the rest of today, and I think I'm going to work on my 18th century project. Okay, so I got the 18th century jacket cut out, and then I got it mostly assembled. I have to cut out the lining and do up the shoulder seam and add facings and hem it and do a whole bunch of work. But this is a good start, and I filmed this for a making of video, so I won't be including too much footage of it in this vlog, but I did want to show you what I was up to. So I forgot to vlog yesterday. My dad and I went to a park and photographed 2 of my finished costumes, and then in the evening I got started on a skirt, which I just finished. And I really should have documented this process more, but it really came together quite quickly, so I just didn't think to pick up the camera. So I'm sorry about that, but I will show you it now, and I will be vlogging throughout today. So this skirt is made out of a really pretty linen that has stripes on it, and then there are little sparkles woven throughout the stripes. There were 3 yards of it that I cut into 2 pieces, and then I sewed the pieces together and left a slit on one side that's about 8 inches deep so I can get the skirt on and off. I attached a waistband to the top edge, and the waistband is just lined with muslin, and then the raw edges are finished with muslin, and it closes with 2 hooks and eyes. So I gathered the top of that down, and then I hemmed the bottom, and I did this by turning the bottom edge inward by a 1/2 inch and sewing it down by machine, then turning it inward by 2.5 inches and sewing it down with small whip stitches. So you can't see any visible stitching from the front side of the fabric, or the stitches you can see are very small. This is going to be worn underneath a few Grecian projects, almost like a base. I'm going to be making a shinton and peplos out of a drapey, slightly sheer material, so I just want something opaque for the bottom half. And this will be paired with the crown that I've been working on and some fancy belts that I'm making that you will probably see tomorrow. So yeah, this is finished. I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to go ahead and sew the hooks and bars into the velvet skirt I've been working on, and then I'm going to go ahead and work more on my 18th century project. So it's almost done! I got the buttons sewn on, and then I got hooks and bars sewn into the back. I tried it on, it looks pretty good, so now I just have to hem the bottom edge. I'm pretty happy with how this is coming out considering all the issues, but the interior is so horrific, and I really don't like working on projects that aren't finished to a standard that I'm proud of, and I'm definitely not proud of the interior of this. So that sort of sucks, but I'm still going to try and finish it because I am really happy with the blouse and hat that I made to go along with this, and I want to get pictures of them, and I can't really do that unless I have a skirt to pair them with. So I will be hemming this in the near future, but while the lighting's still good and while my nails are still painted, I'm going to do a little bit of filming for making a video and work on my 18th century jacket. The fabric for this is fraying like crazy, so today I want to get the facings sewn around the armholes and also around the hem, and hopefully that will help prevent the fraying. And then tomorrow I can get the lining sewn in and get the lace sewn on and be able to try it on. So I got the shoulder seam of the jacket done up, and I also sewed the facing into the hem so this is all nice and finished, and then I top stitched around it to secure it in place, and the lining will secure the top edge of the facing in place. And I'm going to have to repeat this process around the arm openings as well as the collar, but I think I'm going to call it quits for now. I'm going to go downstairs and do some editing and do some hand sewing, and then come up later tonight and work on my Civil War era project. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the remaining scalloped portions on, which are these things. I've sewn on 3 so far, and I have 2 left to do, so that'll probably take me half an hour to an hour or something. Once this is done, I'm going to put it on my dress form and figure out where the bows should go, and then I can sew the bows on, but I don't intend on doing all of that today because I'd also want to get my velvet skirt hemmed. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So this is kind of a weird reflection period for me since the footage for this video was filmed quite a while ago and it was filmed over such a long period. But I will say that I'm pretty proud of what I managed to get done, especially because I wasn't feeling well for most of the time that I was filming. I managed to make some major progress on a couple headpieces. I did a bunch of embroidery and beading for my Grecian project. The footage wasn't included in here, but I did photograph my cycling costume in addition to finishing it. And I also photographed my 1890s taffeta dress, and I got that finished in this video. I cut the facing out of the skirt and I finished the hat. You didn't see a whole lot of it, but I did make a little bit more progress with my Civil War era costume, which is getting ever closer to completion. I also made the skirt for my Grecian project, and though I didn't end up finishing it, I did attempt to make a skirt to go with my plaid Civil War era blouse. It didn't end well because I realized after putting it on my dress form that it had gotten skewed while I was sewing on the waistband, and there was no real way of hemming it because the side seam was at the center front. So I've sort of just scrapped that skirt, but I did wear it for a couple waist-up photos of the project, and I'll insert one of those here. Not quite the week or 2 weeks that I'd expected to have, but I did manage to get quite a bit done, and I am pretty happy with the end result of things, except for maybe that velvet skirt, which gave me a lot of trouble. I'm probably forgetting something, but I think that's everything. I really hope you enjoyed this mishmash of footage and that you'll stick around for the next one, and I shall talk to you all very soon.